guys, this is your strategy consultant and mentor Prashant. Welcome back to my channel, and this is the part 2 in the series of operational excellence, part 2 of problem solving techniques. I hope you guys enjoyed my last video where I had covered 5 eyes technique for root cause analysis. Let's begin with it. In this part 2 of problem solving techniques, we are going to cover what, that is the use of 4 whats for decision making. Similar to 5 whys, here we are going to ask what 4 times for a particular problem, and our problem is about decision making. Let's have a look at it. Decision making per se, you can call it as an art or a science, but it is one of the toughest things to do in your business. When you are encountered with various types of issues or situations or business problems, you might find more than one solution or more than one pathway out of a particular situation. And decision making is what actually decides the future of your organization and the growth of your market. So in this technique of 4 whats for decision making, this is a technique for getting past inhibitions and taking quick decisions. This technique involves removing hesitation and mental blocks to clear the confusion. You can perform razor-sharp assessment in any situation using this technique. If you've ever been into a decision-making position, be it the CEO or a head of a department or any kind of a managerial level, you would have already realized that how hard it is to make a decision at times. And in the decision-making process, you will find that evaluating options can be quite confusing. So what you need to do is identify all the available options, assess the consequences, ask what, analyze and note down the results. 4 whats is a proven method to assist in fast decision making. So how do you go about in the process of decision making? You can see on your screen right now a decision making matrix. It is in the form of a table. The top row has a go and no go decision, and the first column has an if and a will, and you have 4 different whats in the rest of the table. Now, how are you going to use it in a real life situation, in a real world scenario? You first need to have all the available options in front of you. It could be a problem for which you have multiple solutions, or it could be a generic or simple business decision where there are different pathways or forward paths involved. So once you have all those options in front of you, you have to pick up each option and think, what if I go ahead with option A? Then you have to analyze with the next what if I don't go ahead with option A? Once you're through with this, you have to further assess what will stop me from going ahead with option A, and the last and final what will stop me from not going ahead with option A. Now, when you're doing these steps, what do these 4 different whats actually mean? The what if part is actually going to help you analyze the consequences of performing a particular action or not performing that particular action. And the what will, the other 2 whats, are going to help you in assessing what would be the roadblocks, whether you choose to go ahead with it or you choose not to go ahead with it. And with these 4 simple whats, lot of confusion can be cleared, and you can take quick and fast decisions on the go. Let me walk you through real world scenario uh, to demonstrate the application of 4 watts for decision making. If you've seen my last video on the 5 eyes technique, you can recollect that I took up an example of the retail industry. Uh, I'm picking up the same example here, but note that the purpose here is different. The purpose here is not root cause analysis but decision making. So consider a particular use case where you have a retail store which is witnessing high levels of shrinkage. Uh, you do the root cause analysis or brainstorming or any method that you would like to use, and your team has come up with different solutions to address the problem of shrinkage. The solutions are also listed on the screen, ranging from installing more CCTV cameras, buying more anti-theft tags, defining minimum stock levels for security consumables, uh, including the security department in the material requirements planning process, and revising the standard operating procedure for material requirements planning. Now, these are 5 different options or solutions that are available, which could potentially address the issue of shrinkage. Now, when you begin with the 4 watts technique, you have to select each option and ask yourself, what if I go ahead with, say in this particular case, the first option? What if I go ahead and install more CCTV cameras? And then arrive at the resulting answer. And then you need to ask the next what will stop me from going ahead and installing more CCTV cameras. Likewise, you also have to uh, ask what twice more. In this case, what if I don't go ahead with installing more CCTV cameras? Analyze and arrive at the answer, and ask the next what, that is, what will stop me from not going ahead installing more CCTV cameras. So with each option you're using the what 4 times. First 2 watts are to evaluate the consequences of the action, of performing or not performing the action, and the other 2 watts are to identify the roadblocks in performing or not performing the action. So likewise, if you can see on the screen, against each of these possible options or solutions, the 4 watts are listed, and the most probable or relevant answers are also displayed next to it. For example, if we take the first option, installing more CCTV cameras, what if I go ahead with it? Uh, the most logical answer is yes, shrinkage can reduce by X percentage. And what will stop me from going ahead with it? Probably budgetary constraints, because installing CCTV cameras would need additional budget approval, which might not have been envisaged or foreseen earlier. And what if I don't go ahead with this particular option? Probably the situation will remain as it is and the shrinkage will continue. And what can stop me from not going ahead with it? Probably you would have a lot of pressure from the head office, which is also concerned about the shrinkage, high levels of shrinkage in your particular store. So in this manner, you have to apply these 4 watts technique to each of the options that is listed, and analyze the possible consequences and roadblocks. Once you have done that with each of the available options, then in this case, for example, we have buy more anti-theft tags as the next option, uh, which if you go ahead with, can also reduce shrinkage by X percentage. And there is nothing that's probably going to stop you from buying more anti-theft tags, because it's a security consumable, it doesn't have any budgetary constraints, and probably nobody would object to it. And if you don't go ahead with this option, the shrinkage will continue as it is. And what can stop you from going ahead with this option is if there are other better alternative options. Otherwise, again, once again, there's nothing that's going to stop you from going ahead or not going ahead with this option. Likewise, the next option listed is defining the minimum stock levels for security consumables. Now, in this case, you would be addressing this particular instance of shrinkage, and the shrinkage issue would be resolved. But what can stop you from doing this is probably there is a vendor monopoly, uh, because these kind of consumables are not available easily, and one might need to import it, and the vendor could have a monopolistic policy, uh, or an upper edge with your particular store. Then what if you choose not to go ahead with this option? The shrinkage, it's the status quo, and there could be certain issues in your software, whether whatever software you're using, it's app or something else, any other materials management software. Probably there is no option to define the minimum stock level, so you might have to deal with it. Going ahead, the next option is about including security department in the material requirements planning. Now, what if you go ahead with this option? Probably the security department will be more empowered and feel inclusive, and be more proactive in your operations. Um, what can probably stop you from doing this? The materials department might be quite rigid for some unforeseen, unknown reasons. And what if you choose not to go ahead with this option? The situation will be status quo. And there could also be, what could stop you from not going ahead is certain contractual obligations. For example, the security department might be outsourced, it may not be direct part of your organization. And one more option that is listed on the screen is revising the SOP for MRP. Now, what if you choose to go ahead with this option? Uh, you would be attacking all possible potential problems, because revising the SOP on material requirements planning is not just about shrinkage or security department. It can address potential problems and resolve it before they occur. But what can stop you from going ahead with it is that it is quite time consuming. And what if you choose not to go ahead with it? Again, status quo situation. And what would stop you from not going ahead with it? Probably nothing. So once this entire analysis or assessment has been done, uh, what can be done, what needs to be done is you can prioritize, you can choose the most applicable relevant actions. You can go ahead with certain quick wins, you can also go ahead with certain long-term solutions, and the best part is you can prioritize all of these actions as displayed on the screen with the arrow marks. So if I were the store in charge or store manager, I would go ahead with the second option, buying more anti-theft tags, and I would put it on a very high priority level, because that would immediately stop the ongoing shrinkage. And likewise, I would also address certain other issues like the vendor monopoly. I would try to create a supplier pool so that the monopoly is destabilized. That would be my second priority. uh, I would also address if there are any software issues as a third priority. I would also try to communicate and convince the materials department to include the security department uh, as part of their material requirements planning. And the last priority would be revising the standard operating procedure for materials requirements planning. And this one would be having the lowest priority, because it may be time consuming, it may need more resources, and it's not an easy job to do. Revising an entire process or standard operating procedure is not an easy job. So likewise, I can select certain actions and assign priorities to them, and this is what is going to enable me in quick and fast and effective decision making. I hope the example just discussed was quite simple and easy to grasp. Let me also address how not to use 4 watts, because I have seen a lot of people and organizations uh, falling prey to certain factors and not utilizing the full benefits of the 4 watts technique as far as decision making is concerned. So carrying forward the same example of shrinkage, and the same 4 or 5 options that we have discussed already, it's displayed on your screen. uh, there are people who can apply the 4 watt technique in a very very incorrect manner, and they would have a different way of evaluating or looking at these options based on their own inhibitions and perspectives. For example, somebody may go ahead with installing more CCTV cameras because that's the easiest and quickest solution. Someone might defer buying more anti-theft tax because uh, of their own hesitation about something. Uh, there are people who could shrug away from defining the minimum stock levels because they would think that this is not my job. Some other department is supposed to do this. Um there could certain people totally avoid thinking about the security department in their material requirements planning, and a lot of people would try to reject the idea of revising the SOP because it's quite a humongous and cumbersome task. So what I'm trying to explain is, when you're using the 4 watts technique for decision making, do not ever go for a shortcut. Do not procrastinate. Do not shrug responsibility. You have to own the process. Do not be a victim of personal bias, and do not be pessimistic. So take care of these 5 things, and you will be a master of this technique and a very good decision maker at the end of the day. Voila, that brings us to the end of part 2 of problem solving techniques. Hope you enjoyed this video as you did my previous video. Please do keep watching my channel. Stay tuned because I'll be coming up with many more such videos, and as mentioned earlier, there'll be at least 5 or 6 videos in this particular series of problem solving techniques. Till then, take care. Ciao.